Good evening, one and all, and welcome to episode 240 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. And as a special festive way of starting the episode, I give you this year's Chanel Snow Globe, which I think you'll have to agree is rather a good one. Thank you very much to those of you who've tuned in live for this episode, but also those of you who are watching the recording. First comment, there have already been quite a few comments, many of which have been making me chuckle as I've been sitting here waiting for 5 o'clock. First comment went to Alan, who said, "Come up and see me, make me smile." I wonder if that's a response to the thumbnail. Natasha has warned her whole family to leave her alone for the next hour. Tina has warned her cats as well. Thanks very much to all the comments that have come through already. For all the comments, I should say. Christoph is saying hello from Germany. People are already starting to predict what may be featured in this video because as you will be aware, we are doing the rundown of my top 10 perfumes of 2021. In some ways, the most important video of the year, not in all ways, in some ways, because it's the sort of culmination of everything that we've been doing across the whole of the year. Everything has been leading to this. Interesting to see no spoilers in your thumbnail picture, says Woozy. I see. I decided no spoilers this time. Hello from Denmark, says Maudlin. Hello from Toronto, Canada, says Davlone. Scent of the year was Vintage Vol de Nuit Extrait. Well, yeah, you can't really do much better than that. Spraying Le Lion, says James, in honor of this much-awaited live video. Quite the shirt, says Mr. Raspopitul. Well, we have to go festive, right? So we will do we will start the top 10 rundown in just a few moments. I should say, if you've never watched anything on this channel before, if this is your first time, you're very welcome. Please consider subscribing to my channel and click on the little notifications bell so that you get information about upcoming videos. Please do consider supporting my work on Ko-fi. You will find information about all of that in the video description below. But most importantly, truly most importantly, before we do the rundown, I'm going to do this at this end of the video in case I forget at the end and everything becomes a bit of a rush. I have to end the year. This is going to be the last video of 2020. Which year are we in? 2021. 2020 was like the year that never happened. I have to end the year with sincere, heartfelt, genuine thanks. I know I always end the year with thanks, but that doesn't diminish the sincerity of the thanks in any way. Thank you to all of you who have supported me and encouraged me over the course of this last year. I'm so grateful for the fact that we've got this little community of fragrance geeks who get together on this channel and of course on other channels. Thank you to all of you who have supported my work on Ko-fi. Thanks for all the emails, the personalized messages, for all the comments across all of the videos that have made me laugh and brightened up slightly gloomy days. You are seriously the best audience anybody could ever hope for, and I cannot thank you enough for everything that you do to make this possible. And also a thank you to the people who don't necessarily watch these videos but are members of my family, close family, extended family, who do the things that they do that make it possible for me to give up the time and sit with you and share an hour with you without the interruption of family members and cats. So thank you to everybody. Huge mushroom cloud of gratitude exploding across this corner of the south of England. Loads of comments going through. I'm going to have to probably read all of the comments after the end of the broadcast. Hello from Germany, says XXYO. Hair Persolaise, since I discovered your account 3 to 4 months ago, you helped me make a considerable dent in my budget. Sorry, 10 to 15 perfumes plus an extrait. Oh dear. What a blessing to see you live. Hello from McAllen, Texas, says Melissa. I'm the one who feels blessed. Tina says, saying can all relate. Let's just get the most obvious out of the way. Persolaise, bring out the Ambre Supreme. Okay, we need to start. There is, as per usual, going to be a corresponding blog post to go with this video. That will go live at the top of the next hour. So it will go live on persolaise.com at 6 p.m. And that will, in that video, you will see, well, you'll see the top 10 perfumes again, but you'll also see a few paragraphs where I try to sum up the year as a whole, to encapsulate my thoughts on the year. So I won't go into all of that now for the sake of time, so that we've got time to smell these 10 perfumes that I can see over here. But do check out the persolaise.com post. I will link to it as well from this video when the broadcast is over. So I think we should start. Top 10 perfumes of 2021. I am going to start with the one that I personally thought would be the most obvious. I think all of you think it's probably the most obvious as well. I should say that these perfumes are not presented in any particular order. This isn't a top 10 that starts at 10 and goes to 1. And I must also stress that these are perfumes that were new to me in 2021. Most of them are actually 2021 releases, but there is one that is a couple of years old. I have to sort of go with what was new to me, otherwise things start getting a bit too complicated. So let us go with what I kind of figured would be the most obvious one. I wonder if any guesses. Hello from Mexico, says 87 Linseed. Hope there is Iris Torrifier and Le Lion in the list. Well, at least one of yours is going to come true, because let us start with Chanel's Le Lion. And actually, we started the year with this, didn't we? This was the very first review of 2021, the first video of 2021, unless I'm mistaken. And here it is. I had a feeling it would end up in this top 10 at the end of the year. And there we go. Olivier Polge's entry into the Les Exclusives line. Some parts of the world were actually allowed to start enjoying it in 2020, but it didn't go on widespread release until 2021. I think France got it towards the end of 2020, which is why it did end up on several top 10 lists for the best of 2020, but I didn't get to try it until January. And so here it is. And I have just sprayed it. And I'm reminded all over again about why I love perfume so much and everything that makes this geeky passion of ours so deeply satisfying and enjoyable. I will be wearing Le Lion for New Year's Eve, says Professor Melvin. Le Lion is everything, says Hussein. Hear me roar, says Natasha. Boom, the king, says Fragrance Phil. Quelle surprise, says Katsy, but 100% deserves to be part of this. Yeah, you know, some of them are not surprising. Le Lion is my favorite of 2021. Superb, says Tim Wilcox. Hello, Rich. You love Le Lion, right, says Yura, and so on and so on. It is just genius. It is easily one of the best Chanels we have had for the longest time. In fact, it may well be, it's got to be one of the best Chanels of this century, I would have thought. It's got to be up there. It's one of the finest things that Olivier Polge has ever done, and truly fantastic, particularly for a mainstream brand, says Leah Andrews. Jody says, love Le Lion. This is, I guess, the one that most of us are going to agree on, and then we're going to start diverging. What makes this special, apart from the fact that it is just downright gorgeous and beautiful, but that doesn't tell you very much about how it smells if you haven't smelt it before. What makes this special for me is that it has got one foot, one leg planted firmly in the history of perfumery, in the heritage of perfumery, and another in the future of perfumery. And it manages to take a very classic structure, pay homage to its classicism, to its true essence, and also to look forward to the future and make it feel completely modern. What does it smell like? As you will know if you read my initial review over on Persolaise.com and watched the video that we did on it way back in January, it is a sort of meeting point of Guerlain Shalimar, of Chanel's own Cuir de Russie and Chanel's own Coromandel, in that it has the most sparkling, vivacious, solar, citrus opening that we have seen for a long time. Fantastic blend of bergamot and lemon. And then it goes into a really sophisticated, slinky, birch tarry sort of leather, but it also has a base of softness, powderiness, sweetness, almost a kind of white chocolatiness, hence the reference to Coromandel. And all of these things come together and just produce heaven, olfactory heaven. I don't very often do this, but if I did have to pick the sort of number one of the year, it would be Le Lion if I had to pick one absolute favorite. I think I may have done something like that last year, actually, but it isn't often that there is one perfume that makes me think, yeah, that's going to be the perfume of the year. And I hope that it sticks around for a very, very long time for our sakes. I'm able to smell this fabulous perfume even though I still suffer from parosmia, says Sorry Remix. Oh, that's interesting. My faves of the EDP, says Woozy, are La Pausa and Le Lion. Bit of smoke and the amber smells slightly brittle, says Yura. Yes, I like that. I like that description. Love the bergamot opening very much, says James. Is it unisex, says Diana. All perfumes are unisex on this channel. Okay, don't forget that. But yes, Chanel also sell this as a unisex. I think we all guessed this one, says Olfactive Stories. Let me just smell it a few more times. It's just that golden animalic sophistication that it's kind of comforting and carnal at the same time. Really, really fascinating. Everything is just in perfect balance in this one. So there we go. To kick us off, Chanel's Le Lion. I will not be doing blotter updates on this one because all of these, every single one that I can see before me here, has been reviewed at some point over the last 12 months on the channel. So you can just sort of go back to the original videos. And the, oh, somebody's saying smoke. I'm surprised your favorite isn't Sauvage Elixir. And the blog post to go with this video on Persolaise.com will also feature links to the original reviews. Okay, so second, and as I say, these are not in any particular order. I think what I'd like to do is get rid of the two, or do the two for which I don't have proper bottles, full bottles. Not that makes them lesser in any way, but just for the aesthetics sake of the the display being created here. So second on the list of the top 10 perfumes of 2021 is Sundowner from Tower Perfumes, the brand, of course, founded and still managed and run by Andy Tower, the Zurich-based, self-taught Zurich-based perfumer. Here we go. This is a tiny little sample that I managed to obtain for myself. Sundowner, I think, came out just a few months ago. And this, I did an extended video on that one. So again, I can refer you to that. Perhaps if I'm feeling very, very virtuous, I can link to every single video in the description for the video, this video below, but we'll see. People still talking about Le Lion, so keep those comments coming. I will check those out later. Olfacto Files saying I still need to try Sundowner. I'm just going to get things going on the tablet here. Now, Sundowner. Rich Mitch saying I really like Sundowner. So do I. Now, I said that Le Lion is one of the best things that Olivier Polge has done for a long time. I think Sundowner is one of the best things that Andy Tower has done for a long time. This is very much a showcase of tobacco, okay? And when I found out that it was a tobacco scent, one of the first thoughts that came to my mind was, oh gosh, how curious that Andy's not done a tobacco scent before, because you would have thought what with his interest in North African aesthetics, the jasmine in Le Maroc, the amber, of course, in L'Air du Désert. You could maybe even say the leather of Lone Star Memories. You would have thought that tobacco would have been a material that he would have showcased before, but no, maybe he hadn't hit on the right idea, whatever. But he completely goes to town with the tobacco here. He stretches it out. Somebody's saying. Somebody said, I don't like the opening. You're saying, I don't like the opening, but really like the dry down. Okay, interesting. Thinking of going for a blind buy on Sundowner, says Eric, who's saying hello from the Netherlands. Le Lion is a bit powdery on me. I do like it, but it's not love. Absolutely fair enough. Do let me know, I should have said at the beginning, I'm very interested in hearing what your favorites of the year are as well. So here the tobacco has that requisite hay-like, smoky, woody quality, but what Andy's done is that he's linked it to that amber base that has so many fans, his own very, very particular amber accord that is mostly the heart of L'Air du Désert Marocain. And his amber is really curious because it's got a kind of tangy edge to it, and I suppose that brings out the tanginess of of the tobacco in Sundowner. Sundowner felt very safe to me, says Drac. No fireworks. Okay. And Claire wants to order a sample of Sundowner. Love me a tobacco perfume, she says. Love Sundowner, says Fragrance Panther, not an immediate love, but flourished quite quickly. And I think I would agree with that as well. I've worn a few drops, the drops that I have left over the last few weeks, and I've really, really come to appreciate it. And I guess it's no coincidence that it is meant to evoke a journey. I think for this one, Andy was inspired by the Nile and a trip down the Nile, because as I say over on the blog post that will be going live in 45 minutes, this was one of the year's most evocative olfactory journeys. You really do feel where you are somewhere sort of like sailing into the sunset, and those auburn colors are filling the sky, and the sky is starting to turn darker, and maybe you can even start seeing the moon and the stars. It's really, really rich in conjuring images. So if you want a more robust variation on the Sundowner theme, says Bonfire of the Vanities, look to Mar Olfactive Treachery. Okay, thanks very much for the tip. Starborn14 says a favorite of mine this year is Te Matcha 26 from Le Labo. And Tina says a love for me this year was Romanza from Masca Milano, although I think it's from 2020. Now, so you mentioned Masca Milano. Let's kind of do a sideways sort of Masca Milano thing for the third perfume on the top 10 list. It's not from Masca Milano, but it's from Milano Fragranze, the sort of offshoot brand that was created by Alessandro Brun. And this is Basilica, composed by Violaine Colas. This kind of wins the prize for the most surprising fragrance of the year. I only just reviewed it on this channel the other week because I absolutely wanted it to have its own video. The entire Milano Fragranze range is well worth checking out. They do a discovery set, I believe. So I would recommend it to you. There are lots of interesting things in there. But Cat C says, yes, this sounded so intriguing in your review. And I still remain intrigued by this because, as its name would suggest, it is an incense perfume, a frankincense perfume. And there are lots and lots of frankincense perfumes out there. In fact, we're going to be having another slightly more sort of straight frankincense perfume coming up soon. So start trying to guess what it might be. But this one has got a very, very, very original, intriguing, curious, unexpected twist. And the twist is rosemary and thyme and a kind of milky bready accord, so that the effect that you get is a sort of weird, like I said in the original video, za'atar bread effect. A lot of people wrote to me saying, what za'atar and what za'atar bread? Look it up. Za'atar is a Middle Eastern spice and herb blend. It contains a lot of thyme, and I probably will get wrong some of the other things it contains, but I'm pretty sure it contains sesame seeds. I'm pretty sure it contains rosemary and some sumac, okay? And it's got quite a sort of bitter herbal edge to it. And here you get, because of the thyme and the rosemary, you feel as though the incense is being baked in a bread oven. And so you're in church, and then suddenly, halfway through midnight mass or something, everybody pulls out a piece of za'atar bread and starts munching on it. And weird as that sounds, it actually works and creates a highly wearable, intriguing, unusual, original perfume. This sounds glorious, says Drac. It's really, really good. It's really fascinating. And I'm very, very, very tempted to part with some of my own hard-earned pennies and splash out on a bottle just to have that unusual, weird incense in my collection. Lots of people going through talking to each other. Prof Melvin says bakery and church, or maybe a bakery right next to a church, so that you're sitting, maybe you're sitting somewhere near the church door, and so from the altar you're getting the incense smell coming through, but from the bakery next door, and it has to be like a Lebanese bakery, okay, you're getting the za'atar bread coming through, and you're in the middle you're in the middle of all of these appetites being satisfied, you know, sort of the appetite for spiritualism and the sort of more base greedy appetite. It's just great. It is really, really good. Natasha says, this sounds amazing. I need to sample. You do. I love incense perfumes and ones with wheaty notes like La Pluie, Jeu de Pot. There are those Lutan's names. I had pasta with chickpeas and za'atar for lunch today, says Natasha. Well, bon appetit. Basilica felt kind of greenish on me, says Fragrance Panther, but definitely one of the most interesting offerings on the line. Yeah, well, I suppose the thyme herbal note has got a green edge to it. Okay, so those are the two for which I don't have full bottles. For the rest of them, I do have full bottles, and we've only done 3, which means we have got 7 left to do on this list of the top 10 perfumes of 2021. So let us go with the perfume which kind of unexpectedly turned out to be one of the most contentious releases of 2021. Here we are. A lot of you may have guessed that this would be on here. This is Frederic Malle's Synthetic Jungle, composed by Anne Filippo. Let's have a quick spray. This was one of the most super screechy green perfumes we've had for a long time. But do let me know what you think of it, because I'm sure many of you have had a chance to try this one already. But, oh gosh, and here we go. It's like green. I'm going to strip the insides of your nose out green, and I'm going to sort of like pour green acid over your skin and go, ah. I mean, it's a green acid bath almost, isn't it? Agree wholeheartedly, says Woozy, although I'm surprised it made it onto your list. Did you warm up to it, says Woozy? Yeah, well, warm is an interesting word to use, isn't it? Because this really is quite cold. But this one is for the Grinch, says Yura. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's harsh. It is harsh. Its opening is harsh, but in a truly fascinating way. I have had several conversations with perfumers who, one of the first things they wanted to talk to me about when I've emailed them, or if I've even, you know, had the pleasure of meeting them over the course of this socially distanced year, one of the first things they want to say is, have you smelt Synthetic Jungle? What did you think of it? What did you think of it? And they all have a very strong view of it. Nobody is sort of wishy-washy or in the middle about Synthetic Jungle. It's been quite polarizing, with several people in the industry saying, what was Frederic Malle thinking? It's awful, you know, it's so over the top green, it doesn't work, it's ridiculous. And a lot of people actually saying that they think this is going to be their perfume of the year, their favorite of 2021, and that they think it's one of the best things that Malle has ever released. Really polarized views. And I think for that alone, for the fact that it is bold, I think it is quite something for a brand that, you know, let's face it, is now well and truly an Estee Lauder brand. These are not the leftovers of the time when Frederic Malle was still independent. It is quite something for a brand that comes from the Estee Lauder stable to call itself, to make a perfume that's called Synthetic Jungle. Yeah, synthetic is one of the last words that mainstream brands will try to smack in the faces of potential customers. They absolutely want to avoid anything that might suggest that the contents of their bottles are synthetic. So that I think deserves praise. The whole concept of a synthetic jungle is interesting. So truly, hats off to Frederic Malle for doing this and for managing to make something that is quite divisive. I see somebody saying, strangely enough, I think you were a bit wishy-washy on Synthetic Jungle, says Woozy. And you're not wrong, but now I'm definitely in the thumbs up camp, and I have worn it a few times, and I think it's just it's boldness that I find intriguing. Now it is green, and then a bit more green. Some people go on about the Lily of the Valley note in there. Now, to me, Lily of the Valley is too gentle and soft and delicate a flower to really be truly found in here in a meaningful way. Yes, maybe there's a kind of Lily of the Valley note hovering in there, but you don't reach for Synthetic Jungle because you want to wear a Lily of the Valley perfume. You scour the internet to look for a vintage bottle of Durissimo. But the greenness is just relentless. For a green that is maybe more palatable, maybe I would even go so far as to say more faceted, I would refer you to my list for last year, to Antoine Lee's green spell that he made for Barbara Herrmann for her brand Eris. That's a green that you could perhaps say is more beautiful. This is a green that is more cerebral and more sort of intellectually interesting and satisfying than outright beautiful. But having said that, I've worn it and it's worked extremely well in cold weather, I think, because that crispness of the green does complement colder weather. Synthetic Jungle came across as if I've smelt it before, says DJ. Well, you kind of have, except maybe not to this degree, because of course the brand itself has been open about the fact that it was inspired by Estee Lauder Private Collection and Chanel No. 19. But it's kind of like said, okay, so you thought those were green, you thought those were bitter green chypre. Let's kind of take it up a notch and show you how paint stripping green can be. But it's well worth checking out. It is I think an important piece of work. And who knows, that there is a lot of talk out there that one of the trends we will see in the post-pandemic world, hopefully we are not far from entering the post-pandemic world, but there are lots of theories out there that one of the trends we will see is a resurgence of green scents, and maybe this one will turn out to be the forerunner. If it does, then I'm sure it was nothing but fortuitousness on Frederic Malle's part, because I very strongly suspect that this was originally slated for a 2020 release. There was talk already in 2020 that Anne Filippo had done a perfume for them, but for the 20th anniversary of the brand. But I guess they decided to hold it back for obvious reasons and not release it till 2021. Moving on, let's move on. And let's do another one, actually, because I've just seen somebody mention it, so it's a good time to do that. Another one that also really, really seemed to divide people, with, again, a lot of perfumers saying to me, oh, I can't believe they released that. How dull, how boring, and some perfumers being very impressed. This is, again, from earlier in the year, and this is the 5th scent now in the top 10 of 2021 here on Persolaise, the Persolaise YouTube channel. This is H24 from Hermes, or H24. From this point onwards, we will just call it H24. Composed by in-house perfumer Christine Nagel, and their first overt, all-out masculine since the one and only Terre d'Hermès. So how were you ever going to top Terre? Well, Nagel's answer to that was by not trying to copy Terre in any way, shape, or form. In fact, by not trying to copy anything that is being aimed at men from the mainstream market at the moment. And that is one of the reasons why I admire H24 and like it so much, because it is such... Sorry, I've just seen Gonzalo's comment saying, being cheeky and watching this at work, super excited about the list. As long as you don't do the kind of work that means you, I mean, you know, you're not like an air traffic controller or something, are you? Because that would be bad. Please go back to doing your work. The video will be here for you to watch. But if you're doing the kind of work that allows you to do this, of course, now we all want to know what work you do. So if you feel like sharing, please do. But what I was saying, quick rewind. One of the reasons why I like this is because Nagel just thought, I'm not interested in what all of the other mainstream brands are doing for men. In other words, I'm not going to do a Dior Sauvage or whatever YSL seem to be pushing towards men at the moment, or a Bleu de Chanel, even a Guerlain L'Homme Idéal, whatever Lancôme are pushing at men. And she just completely did her own thing. H24 is an interesting one, says DJ, as it was slated by the mainstream who enjoy their Sauvage and Sauvage Elixir, etc., etc. And she decided, well, maybe she didn't decide, but what she has created is a throwback to a style of masculine perfumery that was popular briefly towards the late 90s and the early part of the century, when we had the likes of C.K. Crave, notably where we had Dior Higher, in that she's taken a sort of crystalline, very, very clean orchard fruit note, like a sort of apple-y pear note, and put it over a huge dose of musks. And in this case, the musk that she's used very, very prominently is called Sclarine or Sclaren. And what's interesting about it is that it's got a strange, almost blood-like metallic note, which is kind of steamy and ozony. So what's admirable about H24 is that it is unlike most current new mainstream masculines, but that's not the only reason why I like it. I don't like it merely because it's a rejection of trends. I like it because actually it works. I think the green bridge between the metallic base and the fruity opening works extremely well. I had a lot of people come up to me or write to me after I did the original video on this saying, I can't believe you liked it, to which I could only reply, well, I genuinely did, and I wore it quite a bit over the summer. It's not often that, you know, a bottle that I've had for less than a year is used as much as that is, but I took it with me on holiday when we were able to get away, and I hope it does well. I really hope it does well for the brand, because brands need to take masculine perfumery in different directions, and at least Christine Nagel is trying to do that, and hats off to her. H24 is worth checking out. If you like green scents and want a masculine vintage hidden gem, says Ramsey, try and find a bottle of Rochas Macassar. It's heavy green leather. And Yura saying, I cannot figure out the opening. I enjoyed it. Fragrance Panther says, I appreciate the courage to avoid producing another sausage clone, but it seemed too fleeting for my taste. Kind of reminded me of a watered down Fantomas. Okay. Bruno says H24 smells like a trip to a laundromat. That's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, that steamy, clean feel. I suppose, yes, that is what it's trying to do. Curious about future H24 flankers, says, who was that? Handsome. Okay. Smells like a clean shirt to me, says Olfactive Stories. Christine Nagel's Wonders of Water, the best. I chose it because of you, says Prometheus. Oh, so which one do you mean? Or maybe that is the one. And H24 was my spring-summer go-to scent this year, says Arthur Scargill. So there you go. Okay, 5 down. We're at the halfway mark in this rundown of the top 10 perfumes of 2021, of the entire year, here on the Persolaise YouTube channel. Ooh, what should we do next? I'm trying to think of what I should end with. Let's do the other one that's an incense one. Let's get that one out of the way, because as I've sort of teased about it already, I think H24 is a trendsetter, says Frank Hansen. Well, time will tell, right? Now, this is a slightly older one, because this came out, I think, in 2020, but it was new to me in 2021, so that's why it qualifies for this list. And I'm pretty sure it's the first time anything from this brand has made it onto a top 10 list. Was there one occasion where maybe one did? I don't think so somehow. This is from Louis Vuitton, and this is their Nuit de Feu, or Nights of Fire, composed, of course, by Jacques Cavalier, same as everything at the brand is composed now. And is this a ranked list, says Stephen? No, then they're not in any particular order. And this is just, it's one of those perfect incenses that comes across, even though we have a lot of incense perfumes out there, it's one of those perfect incenses that doesn't come along very, very often. Nuit de Feu is on my to sniff list, says Ramsey, but the price is outrageous. Yes, but at least they haven't priced it like they priced their oud. Nuit de Feu is 10 out of 10, says Time to Musk Up. I absolutely loved Nuit de Feu, says Christophe. Ah, interesting. Okay. This is good stuff, and so well named. So you can do so many different things with incense when you hand the project to a talented perfumer. So we talked about the fact that in Basilica the incense is twisted with thyme and rosemary and bread. Here, what Cavalier has done is actually taken several different varieties of incense and put them together, and I think really placed them over a very, very strong musky base, so that you get the mineralic quality of incense, or the mineralic facet of incense, you get the lemony facet of incense, you get the stony, flinty side, the tobacco side, the smoky side, maybe even the peppery side. There's something kind of vaguely green, violet leafy about it. And and burnt, and he does also manage to make it nocturnal. So now it's night, nobody's left the church yet, the Lebanese bakery next door is closed, but now maybe there's also like a nightclub called Dante's Inferno on the other side of the street, and the kind of body heat from there is mingling with the smells that are still lingering in the church. Maybe I should do the top 10 list according to various shops in the town, right? Or maybe not. And it's just I was going to say it's heavenly, whereas actually it's probably diabolical, isn't it? It's probably infernal. So I guess that's what makes this interesting. So many incense perfumes evoke church, you know, Avignon being the prime example, and so you think of these tendrils of smoke rising up into the sky and into the celestial heavens. This here in Nuit de Feu, the incense tendrils seem to be going down into hell, you know, where Lucifer is just waiting and tempting you down, and you kind of think, oh well, maybe I will go there because everybody probably have a much nicer time down there anyway. You can rent churches to throw parties nowadays, says Eliana. Well, there you go. A sinner's incense, says Professor Melvin. I like that. That's why I say that I have the best audience, because you guys come up with these perfect sound bites. I tried the Ambre Nomade Oud, says James. I love the smell, but just can't get over how strong it is. Constantly smelling it throughout the day, making me a bit nauseous. A rave in a church sounds good, says Yoshi, or just very bad. Do they have incense at a black mass, says Gavin? I genuinely wouldn't know, and I kind of feel I don't want to know. And okay, let's move on. But James, I'm not talking about the Ambre Nomade Oud. I'm talking about their pure oud, pure spelt the French way, P-U-R, or as my phone kept wanting to change it to because of autocorrect, pure poud, which is a very different fragrance entirely, I think. So, 4 to go. Let us do the most mainstreamy one next out of the 4, and then kind of go more into the independent sector. This is one that maybe might surprise a few people, but I was really taken with it from the moment I smelt it. This is from a brand that keeps releasing tons and tons of things. Some of them are hits, some of them, as you'd expect, are misses. But this is from Mr. Tom Ford. This is the Soleil Brulant, which it was a flanker, I believe, but this came out this year. And if the internet is to be believed, this was composed by Daniela Andre of Givaudan. I thought this worked. I thought this worked extremely well. As soon as I finished doing the video review of it, I gave the bottle to Madame Persolaise and said that I thought it would suit her. And as far as I'm concerned, it does suit her. I'm not sure she's such a huge fan of wearing it, but I think she's come to appreciate it more and more. Going back to the Vuitton, DJ says the price Vuitton was charging for their pure oud, you could get sinking grade oud for the price. You probably actually could buy some oud, actually. And Andy's saying my favorite smell from this year is probably Kilauea from Olympic Orchids from 2019, indolic florals and dying smoke. Ooh, good description. Will Creed Viking Cologne be on this list, says Yoshi. Was that from this year? I can't remember. I tried to block out memories of anything from that brand. Anyway, so Tom Ford, Soleil Brulant. The idea of, you know, solar scents, sun scents, suntan lotion scents is pretty old. You know, we've had it for a long time, but whenever a brand tries to put a new twist on it, it's always worth checking out what they do, especially if it's a brand like Tom Ford. And here, what's fascinating is that they've gone for a kind of coffee honey idea. The official list of notes, I don't think lists coffee, but they list something called black honey. So maybe there is something about black honey that to me is redolent of coffee. But what you get in effect as a result of all of this is that you get those beautiful solar top notes, so that you do imagine yourself being, you know, along the Med somewhere, or, you know, insert name of your own favorite beach that enjoys a lot of sunshine. But there's also a real sensuality to it that does not, for once, come from a coconut note, because of course that's the kind of default setting for suntan lotion scents, to go down the salicylate coconut route. Here, Yoshi says, I love Soleil Brulant as a very interesting, luxurious fragrance. It is interesting. And I love the fact that that darkness is contrasted with the luminosity so convincingly, so well. And I think way back when I first reviewed it, the image that came to my mind is the image that still comes to my mind. I immediately picture like a traditional very politically incorrect James Bond opening title sequence. I haven't seen the latest Bond film. I don't think I even watched the one before that. So I don't know what James Bond title sequences look like at the moment. But back in the day when they were really, really politically incorrect and you had scantily clad or actually not unclad female figures in liquid gold writhing across the screen, that's what you get from this. But feel free to picture gold-covered, scantily clad figures of either gender, if you wish, or both. And it's got this slinky quality to it. It's got this seductive quality to it, and yet it's a slinky seductiveness that is out there in the open, in the warm amber light of day, because all of this slinky seductiveness is happening at high noon on a beach somewhere. Really like Soleil Brulant, is so pleasant, vampy yet cheerful, says GH. Vampy is a good word. Vampy is a very good word. Alan says, I've squirreled away a wee bit of money during this past year, I guess you mean, specifically for perfume, but when I went to purchase Pure Oud, I found that LV will not ship to the States. Oh, that's a shame, but that's amazing. I mean, that's fine. A little bit hard to believe. How come Louis Vuitton don't have like a way of shipping to US-based customers? There must be a huge customer base for them in the United States. Interesting. Joanna saying, my top are River Walk and By Serpentine, Beautiful Chrysanthemum by Exaltatum. And going to wear Soleil Brulant, says Yoshi Yoshi, when I go to Asda after this stream to buy wine. Anybody who knows me and is watching this video now knows that I'm biting my tongue, but I will not make the joke. Golt81 says, yet again, we're graced by your sartorial elegance. Love the shirt. Thank you very much. Favorite line of the year, Armani Privé. Cannot choose just one, says My Curated Life. Okay. So there we go. And we need to get a move on because we've got about 18 minutes left and we have got 3 to go. Right. Let us, and these are all really quite independent now. The mainstream is out of the way. Oh, and Alan is explaining, Vuitton will ship to the States, just not this particular perfume, Pure Oud. Fascinating. I'd be tempted to write to them to ask why. Anyway, so number 8 on the list of the top 10 perfumes is the latest from one of my favorite brands at the moment, Les Indemodables. This is called Ambre Suprême. You should just be able to make that out. And as with all of the perfumes from their recent output, this was composed by the legendary Monsieur Antoine Lee. This was a perfume, of all the ones on this list, I think actually even more so than Synthetic Jungle, this was a perfume that it really took me a while to appreciate. I liked it. I liked it a lot from the absolute first wear, but I think it took me a while to really, really understand how special it is. And I think maybe I was a little bit blindsided by the brand's marketing material, because they make a very, very, very big deal of the fact that Ambre Suprême contains a high percentage of an ambergris tincture. And so they should, because I can see that would be a very strong selling point. And if they say that it contains a certain percentage of ambergris tincture, I absolutely believe them, because I think integrity is one of the things that really sets this brand apart from others. But as I say, you kind of get blindsided to everything else that is going on in this scent, because you don't really wear it or buy it because you want to get an ambergris showcase, as is the case with pretty much every perfume in this range. What you get is an abstract composition. Valerie and Rémi Pulveray, who are the co-founders, creative directors of the brand, have a huge amount of respect for the past of perfumery, for the heritage of perfumery. And I think they're not so interested in the current trend for pushing a note out front and center in a composition and thereby making the perfume more easily legible. I think they want to go for things which create a kind of overall effect and are more abstract. I guess abstract is the word. I just used it a few moments ago. So yes, obviously you get that sense of the ambergris in there, but you also get the beautiful cardamom note. You get a really, really seamless blend of florals, so that you don't know where one begins and another one ends. You think maybe there's ylang ylang in there, but maybe there's rose as well. You get an immortelle feel towards the end. Where can we purchase this from the UK, says Audrey. I'm pretty sure that there isn't a bricks and mortar setup anywhere, but I do think that the brand ships direct to the UK. So if you just go on the Les Indemodables site, I think you can order it. And I think you can also order their discovery set. Ambergris is an interesting one, says DJ, because a lot of people can't actually smell it, especially if they haven't smelled the real thing before it takes a few wearings. And as I was saying, the more I wore this and the more I sort of really tried to pay attention to it and to smell it, the more I thought, gosh, well, this is like a sort of spicy ambery scent, very much in the manner of Yves Saint Laurent Opium, which also traces its lineage to Estee Lauder Youth Dew. But I guess what makes it feel modern and makes it feel like something that was released in 2021 is this sense of luminosity, this sense of brightness, this lack of any fusty heaviness. So you get a wall of spice, you get a wall of florals, you get a wall of this beautiful ambery base, but it's a gauze-like wall, or it's a translucent wall. You can see through it. The light is shining through it very, very, very brightly and distinctly. And it's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. It's kind of effortlessly sophisticated in a very classically French kind of way. You know, if Chanel had released this, I don't know, maybe in the late 80s or early 90s, it would have been a massive hit. But they go for things like Gabrielle now, which, and you know, I've made my thoughts on Gabrielle clear. I don't think it is anywhere near as awful as people make out, but it is a lot simpler and a lot more simplistic than something like Ambre Suprême. Really, really lovely. I cannot recommend it enough. Well, obviously I'm recommending it because it's on the list. My mum used to wear Opium. She had the bottle with the tassel, says Natasha. Gosh. And are people saying, is it unisex, amber, or more feminine? I suppose if we're being really, really stereotypical, we would say that it leans more feminine, but you know, we really don't like to go down that route. And I noticed somebody saying, oh yeah, Ramsey, Les Indemodables is such a great brand. I hope they don't get bought by L'Oreal or something. I don't really think that's going to be happening anytime soon. I don't think we need to worry. Let's just say that if that were to happen, I would be extremely surprised. Okay, two to go. So let's do the one which is actually the older one, the oldest one, because this came out, its official release date is 2018. But I didn't try it until this year, and it was an instant hit. Some of you may know where I'm going with this. And I do think that maybe it didn't actually hit the UK market in any kind of significant, meaningful way until 2021. So that's why it qualifies. But regardless of that, I love this scent so much that it was always going to be on this list. And this is from Akro. And as you can see there, it's Smoke from Akro. All of the scents in this range have been made by Olivier Cresp. You may have heard of him. He very graciously gave up some of his time to do a live interview on this channel. You can find that if you just Google or search for Olivier Cresp Persolaise interview. Each one of the scents in the Akro range is inspired by, let's make a little bit more proper room for this so that you can see it. That's better. Is inspired by a vice or an addiction, and smoke is meant to be an evocation of cigarette smoke. This is amazing. This stuff is absolutely amazing because yes, it completely smells like cigarette smoke. It also, to me, smells like, and sorry if you've heard the story before, because I know I've told it several times before, but never mind. Sorry, not sorry, as it were. It really reminds me of whatever tobacco was being smoked by a relative of mine in late 70s, early 80s, southern Iran, in a shisha, in a hubbly bubbly. And what's extraordinary about this? I mean, I don't smoke. I've never smoked in my life. I cannot stand being around cigarette smoke. I'm really, really grateful that, you know, most of the sort of Western world is a cigarette smoke free zone. I don't even like people vaping around me, but I want to wear this. And even though there is something about it that is so photorealistic that when I smell it, I almost think I need to cough. It's very difficult to describe. You know, like the smell of pipe tobacco is so beautiful. And even though I'm not intending on taking up pipe smoking anytime soon, I adore the smell of it, and I adore the fact that here Cresp has created a very, very clean and yet extremely hot, burnt, smoky note. And you can you almost imagine that you're smelling the paper of the cigarette as it's burning down. It's just superb. It's just superb, and it's so wearable. And when I've worn it, I don't know what people have been thinking when I've worn it, but I have yet to have a person come up to me and say, "Why do you smell like you've just, been hiding away in the smoker's cupboard, and each of you has just gone through a whole packet of cigarettes?" Because it's very curious. It doesn't have that choking, horrible, disgusting effect, even though it completely smells of what it's meant to smell of. So, and that's the sort of olfactory magic of perfumery. I guess that's the magic of Olivier Cresp's genius. And so finally, here we are, the top 10. Remember, these are not in any order. The number 10 perfume in my list of the top 10 perfumes of 2021. Some of you may have guessed this if you've been paying attention. This is fantastic. This is the latest from Naomi Goodsir. This one was composed for them by the legendary Bertrand Duchaufour, and this is Corpus Equus. This was, again, another sort of immediate hit. As soon as I smelt it, I thought, right, this has got to be a full bottle member of the collection. Has Madame Persolaise questioned you? Have you been smoking? Says you're a no. No, in fact, she really quite liked the perfume as well. This is, where can we pop this so that you can see it? This is a leather, and yet, even though it is a leather, and I'm not horsey in any way, okay? In fact, I wonder if I've ever even ridden a horse. Perhaps I've been on a pony when I was really, really little. This immediately makes me think of what it might feel like to be riding a horse somewhere in some really, really wild landscape on a hot day with the wind blowing through my hair and the wind blowing through the horse's mane, and just that feeling of this real physicality of this beautiful beast that is so powerful and yet is somehow under your control, but could also really very seriously injure you if it chose to do so. There is a lot of danger in this scent. There is a lot of darkness. There is a lot of speed. There's a lot of energy. And that's what makes it so compelling. And it's also interesting if we look at who made it, because it shows Duchaufour exploring areas that we don't very often see him exploring. He tends to go down the incense route. He tends to go down the sort of Davana wood route, clever, fruity tops. But maybe this time the folks at Naomi Goodsir said, we want you to evoke this really, really powerful, beautiful, statuesque, it's a very statuesque perfume, statuesque horse that is only just tamed. This is a horse that's decided to let you into its circle of trust, if you see what I mean. You think you've tamed it, but actually it's just humoring you. It's just indulging you, and just fantastic. Really, really, really fantastic. Really interesting way that the sort of physical, visceral, carnal, leathery notes go into the sort of the base, which is maybe mossy, patchouli-like. Gorgeous piece of work. Really, really excellent piece of work. Can you please go through the top 10 again quickly to sum it up? I was late to the party and just joined, says JP Music. You'll get the full list in the video description below, but very, very quickly then, not in any particular order, we had H24 from Hermes, Le Lion from Chanel, Soleil Brulant from Tom Ford, Ambre Suprême from Les Indemodables, Synthetic Jungle from Frederic Malle, Corpus Equus from Naomi Goodsir, Nuit de Feu from Louis Vuitton, Sundowner, that you can't see down there, from Tower Perfumes, Basilica from Milano Fragranze, and Smoke from Akro. And it is time for me to thank you once again for all of your support over the course of the entire year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My gratitude knows no bounds. I will be back early in the new year to resume Love at First Scent and the usual service over on Persolaise.com. Hopefully lots of interesting interviews coming your way. Thank you so much. I promise I will go through all of these comments when the video is over, but I can see lots of Happy New Years going to everybody. Let us hope that for all of us, it is going to be a year that will be healthier, happier, more prosperous, and a year in which we are all able to keep connecting with each other in whatever way is most meaningful and most memorable. Be good. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for watching, and Happy New Year. Bye now.